She's a dedicated worker in an innovative museum that is a hub for curiosity and creativity. Her vision for the Powerhouse is to be the world's leading museum for science and design, acclaimed internationally and loved locally. Meet Rose Hiscock, the director of the Powerhouse Museum. Welcome to Australian Education Times. We are very honoured to have you here with us today.
Thank you. I'm very happy to talk to you both.
Tell us about your educational journey and how it has helped your career that ended up at the Powerhouse Museum today.
Well, I went to school in Ballarat. Have you heard of Ballarat? You know where that is? It's sort of a gold rush town. So it was a town that was really built on gold in the 1850s. And it's in the country. So I went to school in the country, and there's something about a country, living in the country and being involved in the community that I really loved. So I studied, I was a really creative kid. I loved anything to do with the arts, and I loved theatre and performance and all those kinds of things. So I got involved in all kinds of drama and creative industries, I guess you'd say, at school. And then went off to university, and at university I studied economics, which is essentially business and commerce, and it was to balance up my love of art with something that was a little bit more practical, so business, and through that got my first job.
As a child or a young adult, what career aspiration did you have?
Do you know what I wanted to be when I was a little kid? A bricklayer. Yep, I wanted to be a bricklayer, and the reason was I wanted to build my own house. I thought, and so for me, I've always balanced up something practical with something creative. And in fact, one of the projects that I've been involved with in my career, which I'm really lucky to have been involved with, was building a new pavilion to host Australian art in Venice. It's a project that the Australian Council has spearheaded, where they've selected a fabulous architect, Denton Corker Marshall, to build Australia's pavilion in Venice. So I've always had a thing around art, architecture and design.
You have a lot of experience in strategic marketing and audience development. What do you think is the key in keeping people interested?
Well, what makes you interested in things? What would you say would be the thing? You don't know? Do you know? Talish, what makes you interested? If you weren't reading a book or you're coming here to the Powerhouse, before you got here, what would you say?
Well, like the adventure or something?
The adventure, yeah, I think that's right. Look, for me, you've got to work it out. And that the starting point is to ask someone else what they're interested in. So we do a lot of audience research. So whenever we are developing new exhibitions for our museum, we'll do a survey out into the marketplace with a whole bunch of ideas, and we'll say to people, well, which one of these exhibitions would you like to come and visit? So we start with that, but we also our museum has got a really fantastic collection, and we keep some of it in the basement here. So we've got this wonderful collection to draw on whenever we want to do something. So we'll look at what we've got. We'll also consider what people might be interested in, and we'll ask them. And then based on that, we'll develop an exhibition. So it's a little bit of science. It's a little bit of market research, but also trusting our own instinct to know what someone's going to be interested in. And sometimes we've got a circus exhibition on at the moment, yeah. So we know circus is a subject people are likely to be interested in, and the reason is because it's relevant in different ways. So the colour, the costume, the movement, the activity is going to excite people. But also we hope to go one step further and have an educational element in it as well. So there's no one single answer, actually. There's many things that make an exhibition relevant and engaging and of interest.
Did you develop an interest in art world at a young age?
Yeah, I did. I was really lucky that I grew up in a family that valued art, and I had as often in the case, there was one person in my family that was really inspiring, and I had an aunt who was a singer. She was an opera singer and a musician, and she lectured at Melbourne University. And so from a very young age, my aunt used to play the piano and get us to make up stories and make up songs and dance and sing. And so that was embedded in our family. We didn't think anything of making up a song, and and it was always silly. We always had a good laugh. But what my aunt did was encourage creativity. So for me, you asked me a question earlier, Tanish, about our vision as an organisation, and it's about curiosity and creativity. And for me personally, they're the two things that I think get me up every morning. I want to live a life that's interesting and creative, and I had great people in my life doing that for me. I'm actually really proud of my aunt and my family. It's and I'm sure you have people in your families that have a really big influence on who you are and where you're going, and the same for me.
Your vision for the powerhouse to be the world's leading museum of science and design. How close are you to achieving that vision?
World domination is the aim. We want to be the best. How close are we? We have a long way to go. Someone once said to me about a vision that it needs to be as aspirational as you can possibly be. It needs to be you need to really strive for something really, really ambitious, and that's what our vision is. I think we're starting to get there. We're changing all of our exhibitions. We're inventing new ways of doing things. We will actually redevelop our entire museum. We'll be redeveloping a museum in Parramatta, and that will be a museum for the future. So we really have to strive to be the world's best. So we're on the journey, is the short answer.
Tell us a bit about the excursions and the learning programs for primary and secondary students at the Powerhouse Museum.
Yeah, we have a really broad range of programs for all ages. So some of those programs are we have really talented staff and on board who will lead a group in a program. So we have, and because we're a museum of science and arts, so we have programs across those two disciplines. So we have programs around astronomy, about the weather. We've got a wonderful recreation of a Mars landscape where we work with tertiary and university students to program a Mars rover that rolls across Mars. We do a lot of video conferencing, so because we know schools can't always get to us, so we need to get out to them. So we have these really fantastic conferencing facilities where we can teach a class remotely from here. And then we also have, with every exhibition, we have trails and notes to help people, guide people through their trails. So the broad way that we work is we have a number of disciplines across arts and science, and then we have a program based on each of those areas.
There are thousands of children excited to visit the museum you are directing. How does this make you feel?
Fantastic. I love it. And I have to say, it's not just me. So I have a really wonderful staff. We have 200 people in our organisation, and they're really wonderful. We have people with all kinds of expertise. We have people who know how to drive steam engines, through to marketing people, through to curators, astronomers. It's a very, very broad mix of people, and every one of us come to work every morning because we love being here and we love engaging people in our museum. So yeah, it's good fun.
How do you keep yourself motivated, and your staff and volunteers?
In a museum like ours, motivation's quite easy because we're so passionate about what we do. And, you know, my advice to you both is, you know, when you leave school, when you grow up, when you go through university, think about working in a museum. It really is you know, it is a really great career. It's really, really good fun. So because I believe in the subject areas that we look after, and I believe in the way we translate that into our experiences in our exhibitions, it's really easy to be motivated. So, you know, I come in pretty happy most days.
A leader must be equipped with a set of competencies necessary to perform her role. Which one would you say is the most important ability a leader should have, and what are the key factors required to be successful?
Yeah, I think a leader, I'd say the most important quality is to be agile, so to be nimble, to be able to change. And it might sound like it's a contradiction, but it's also very important to have a vision. So you need to know where you're going as an organisation, but you also need to be able to change and to be open to other ideas. So it's a combination of, for me, it's a combination of strength and flexibility, so that you can, it's sort of give and take, so that you can motivate people and take people with you. And my other one, my secret weapon, okay, so everyone has to have a secret weapon, is a sense of humour. You have to be able to laugh, and if you can't laugh, then, you know, it's not much fun, I think.
What advice would you give to students who want to grow up to be like you someday?
Oh, yeah. Well, what advice? I would say, if you're interested in working in a museum, the best thing to do is to start early and to start in it, just what we call in the industry a foot in the door. So as a volunteer or as a working in our front of house selling tickets on holiday periods. So what you find in the museum world is people have worked across a number of jobs so that they've really experienced how museums work, and that's what I did. I worked as a volunteer in organisations, I worked in you know, as a ticket seller on the front desk. So that really, and the reason I think that's so great is that you understand museums are about service, okay? So you have customer service, you look after your customers, you provide them with an experience, and so you get to learn how to do that. So I think one of the hardest jobs in a museum, believe it or not, is our front of house staff. So the people that greet you every day, because they're on their feet every day, they're talking to people every day. For those of us in offices, you know, we can go and have a cup of tea if we want to have a little rest, but our front of house staff have to be positive and smiling and greeting people every day, and that's a really important job. So yeah, I'd say foot in the door.
Thank you for your time to talk to us today. It was a great time meeting you.
Thank you both. It was lovely to talk to both of you. And what do you two want to do when you grow up?
I want to do robotics when I grow up.
Robotics, fantastic. That's a great thing to want to do. What about you?
I might do science.